And I would like to turn to a doctor, trained in psychiatry, politician, who, I mean, if you listen to him, if you've heard him talk, you would never think he read medicine. You think he read social theory, political science, but obviously he studied in the Students' Union. I'd like to invite Dr. Junaid Mohammed to make a comment.
Chairman, sir, His Royal Highness the Sarki of Kano, I must, the Commission Chairman, also mention a very special gentleman I have admired throughout my career. He also happened to have been a lawyer, but he has now graduated to the level of being an elder statesman by definition, in spirit and matter of the law, and my society, which is most important. I must acknowledge what I did, or repeat what I did during the last lecture 5 years ago, acknowledging Alhaji Chief Fenyo, one-time federal minister, distant godfather, efficient minister, efficient statesman, and a complete gentleman. Welcome, sir. I'm glad to see you again after 5 years. Your Royal Highness Emir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when I got this notification about this lecture, I knew I was expecting it, but I wasn't expecting to have any role. But then last Monday we had to have a discussion with Kyari Shafola, and I was told the topic. Last Monday, about 3 days ago. So I thought hard. As far as I'm concerned, not that I'm a criminal, but to me and the law, it's as like heavens and earth. And being asked to comment on this weighty topic, the role of the law in nation building was a bit too much, but I couldn't complain. Because my relationship with the Shofala family is such that there's nothing I cannot do for them, there's no program I cannot interrupt and be here. I was here 5 years ago, I'm here now. I hope to be here in another 5-10 years to come, if Allah Almighty grants me the longevity. My understanding, sir, of the definition of the rule of law has been highlighted by the guest speaker, of course by Justice Isabella Okakwe. My understanding is simply this: the law, or the rule of law, is a principle or a tenet of our colonial masters, the British. And it comes, I think it becomes a fundamental principle of the English law, that the powers and potential for excessive or abuse of such powers by those in power must be abused, must be abridged by the society through the legal systems. And these legal systems must anticipate and provide that all citizens are equal before the law. And this rule that individuals, institutions of government, corporate bodies, what have you, must all be equal before the law and must be treated as such by the law. And those who are charged with governance must ensure that these principles are upheld and that law is humanly or when need be ruthlessly applied in order to protect what is our own common heritage as a people, and which has ensured that there is peace and stability in those countries that are serious about it. And even when challenges arise, they can be resolved meaningfully and responsibly. There is also a role, Your Royal Highness, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the rule of law principle and the guiding principle of the rule of law in managing our economic affairs. I say this because I noticed a great misunderstanding, my comrade will tell me, that many people expect that democracy as democracy can guarantee development. It does not. Those who imagine that because you decide you are going to have a democracy, that government must be with the consent of the governed, that you can elect a person into public office, you go home and sleep. It doesn't happen that way. And the situation we find ourselves today, more than any other thing that I have remembered in my lifetime, demonstrates this fact. It shows that The government itself has to be washed by the legislature. The legislature itself, even more so, has to be washed by those who elected them into power. The idea that you're going to elect a man in public office to roll over and play dead is over. Because that inherent vigilance in democracy is very necessary, otherwise there will be no democracy. So anybody imagine that your job, your civic duty is to go and elect a person and go home and sleep, you're realizing that you can go in your name, in name of your representation, go and really take diabolical liberties of you, of me, and sometimes knowingly or otherwise of his own family, of his own vital interests. Number one. Number two, part of this theme today has to do with economic development. As I said, democracy does not guarantee economic development. It may, as a principle, the rule may be a facilitation for economic development to happen. At least it reduces arbitrariness you expect in government. It also reduces the anxieties you have when you have no certainty about the law or the position of the law. And for people who deal with foreign direct investment FDI, this is absolutely important. Because you can't ask a man to come invest in a country and tell him we're a democracy and you expect him to simply take you at your works level, invest in billions, and then when the time comes, you simply blame Abubakar with his money. And then in the end, of course, will be history. Now, be very careful. In wanting the rule of law, we are realistic, but we are also specific about what aspects of the rule of law we are talking about. Because without it, we may find ourselves in very difficult circumstances. In addition, also, we work on the assumption that authoritarianism by itself can hinder development. Unfortunately, the history of the world is not exactly on point on that issue. There have been authoritarian regimes that have managed to develop. There have been authoritarian individuals who are patriotic but sensible enough to realize their limits, who have dragged their country through to development. And we have to ask ourselves also whether all that we need in this country, all this we need, can be guaranteed by merely adherence to the principle of the rule of law by those who are governing or by those who are representing us. I dare say no. But I believe in one thing, and it was really highlighted to me 5 years after we discussed the issue in the same hall, at the same venue, with the same gentleman, when he said, is there a consensus on the rule of law? Are we united enough as elites, not as tribesmen or religious people? No, as elites. Are we serious? When you look at examples of countries that have succeeded in the democracy project, those that have done what they have had to do and they are now firmly on the path of development, I look at India. An ex-British colony, a legal system like ours, a civil service like ours, a thoroughly depoliticized military, which we are yet to be. And I find that somehow one of the fundamentals they are able to achieve at birth, 1947, 1950, was to make sure that there is a broad elite political consensus. When I wrote a little piece, it became controversial about one of the previous administrations, where I have lost count how many of five. And I said there was the need for this vital elite political consensus. So people laughed at the court. And of course, that little piece earned me 77 days of detention without trial at all federal prison. Up to today, as I'm doing it to you, sir, nobody has shown me the piece of paper which said I should be arrested. I wonder what I was being arrested. 77 days in solitary confinement with neighbors on the right and on the left who are all armed robbers, some of them wishing to be executed. So you can see what is happening. No wonder political scientists like sometimes can say that sometimes elites have a vested interest in the principle and the honest and faithful application of the rule of law because they don't know where they would be. I never thought after the House of Reps in 1984 that I was going to find myself in 1985 in prison or very happy. I hope in the future those who will be around and those who are still around and in positions of authority will affect what this country needs, will keep her going back to the issue of elite political consensus. I have found this violation extremely difficult to fathom and extremely difficult to justify Because I don't know what the president needs from my friend Ken Shofar. Anytime he comes to Kano, he stays in my own house. If I come here, one of the past places I go will be from. I will demand tea. Sometimes I will demand tea with life. And anytime I see Congress, I will talk about the country. We're together daily for the entire period of the last constitutional conference. Please, Nigerian elite, if not for anybody else, for yourself and your own children, learn about this political consensus. If you exchange blows in the process, I have no problem. But there has to be this elite political consensus. You have to also show examples by abiding with the principle of the rule of law before you expect society to follow, because you are good leaders and you are worth following. I would not want to go too far because I want to